Hello, everybody. Good morning. Oh, what a friendly bunch. It's very nice to meet you. So my name is Ren Rigby. My pronouns are they, them. And as Tina said, not so long ago, my name was Mike Rigby, and my pronouns were he, him. So I spent the last few years transitioning. So a bit of a glow up. And this, I guess you could say, is a bit of a reintroduction of sorts. And so please allow me to reintroduce myself. It's one of my first appearances in public as Ren, and I could not have chosen a better community. Thank you. I feel in very safe hands, so thanks very much. So I had to choose my own name, bit of a hard brief. So a few reasons why I chose the name Ren. First of all, it's a Chinese Confucius word that means human and humane. So by choosing this name, I'm choosing to bring all of the threads of myself together into one whole person for the first time. Actually, Tina saw my deck last night and she went, wow, you've really gone for it with the threads theme. It's a great theme. Okay, Ren for me also is shorthand for an idea, which is a gender renaissance. And so the Renaissance is one of my favorite periods in history because, of course, it was very creative, but also it was a point in history where antiquated established norms were challenged. People got fed up, and society was dramatically reinvented and reborn in that moment. So Renaissance means rebirth. So this presentation is my own rebirth, and I guess the process I went through of reinvention. So as Tina said, I'm a designer. I founded a company with these wonderful people. It's called Proto. And a few of my favorite projects. So this is an incredible company out of MIT in Boston that have invented a solution to the climate crisis, a green chemistry that can replace the need for petrochemicals in all manufacturing. It's brilliant. So we had to create this business from scratch. We called them Evolved by Nature, and we created an evolving brand identity. So it's fashion evolved by nature, healthcare evolved by nature, etc. And to do this, we actually coded a typeface that was programmed to evolve. Pretty cool, isn't it? And so it's really clever. So wherever you put the asterisk, it automatically typesets itself and evolves. It was a real labor of love to do this. We had to create 14 different typefaces and then program it to work together seamlessly. And we did this so that they could show up in different industries, so they could be more expressive for high fashion and more sterile or straightforward in other industries. So it really just allowed them to make the most of the opportunity. It's a brilliant company. Chanel's the main investor. It's now in Chanel cashmere. It's in Nike shoes. So if you know anyone that makes anything, tell them to go to Evolved by Nature and visit my friends. Okay, just one more project. This is an ocean conservation charity called Project Zero. And so what they're trying to do is create more national parks in the sea. This is the old brands, and it was a little bit generic. So what we did was we worked on rebranding them. And actually, they've been working with the world's leading oceanographers, and they have hard data that shows the best chance of slowing climate change is actually by protecting the ocean. And so they had a goal of protecting 30% by 2030. The ocean is an incredible regulatory system. Most of the carbon dioxide is stored there. 50%, every second breath of oxygen comes from the ocean. But only 2% of it is protected, which is insane. And it's in really poor health. So let me just show you a video that we made. It's just a minute. So that's a new logo. It's cheeky. It's sneaky. It's a Z that's also a percentage sign. Come on. the end of the day, they had so much data, so a symbol that was mathematical made a lot of sense. And what we were doing here, we were trying to target government. So this wasn't really for us, it wasn't really for citizens. So we just needed a mark that could actually surface a lot of this data. If you want to get a government to do anything, you have to provide a lot of proof that it's going to work. And so that's what this was all about. We made as much content as we could, reports or campaigns, studies, and we just sent this and hammered it to governments all over the world. We also made the world's best swag. So we got these incredible, Vivian Westwood made some swag for us. Ronnie Wood, like a Rolling Stone, made a tote bag. Unbelievable. So this, we could apply public pressure by getting these incredible people involved with us. And it was a huge success. It actually worked. So after 10 years of trying, last year, this historic agreement was reached across the world to protect the ocean 2030. So some good news, of course, doesn't solve the problem, but we need to celebrate these wins when we get them. So before founding Proto, I worked with the CEO, the founder, the legendary Bob Greenberg, and he took me under his wing and taught me so much. And through Bob, I actually got to meet a lot of my design heroes because Bob knows everybody. So I got to meet loads of people, including Dieter Rams. This one didn't go so well, though. So let me explain. So I was invited to the premiere of Dieter Rams, the movie, by Bob, because Bob was giving the opening speech. The problem was, earlier in that day, I was also enshrining my friend Sunil into the Advertising Hall of Fame, and this started at 11 a.m. And because it's advertising, it was a long day. As proof of how drunk I was, this is how I got there. I got there in a Times Square rickshaw. I wasn't anywhere near Times Square. I don't even know where I got this from. I virtually have no memory. They're the only two photographs I had of the evening. I just remember turning up at this premiere and I was on a mission. I'm going to get a selfie with Dieter Rams. And the only thing I've got is my Instagram story. Dieter Rams hates me. Oh my God. It's so embarrassing. Okay, so I met another one of my heroes who's now a dear friend, Debbie Millman. She's actually on the live stream, so hello, Debbie. And I was honored with an interview on the world's best podcast. We love this podcast. And Debbie asked me a question that really hit me hard.
I look at your career at The Chase or Pentagram or Interbrand or RGA. I don't see much rejection. What is the biggest rejection you faced?
So I dodged the question and I made it about projects that had failed. But the truth was, I'm going to answer that question right now. I was so afraid of rejection that I'd actually been living my entire life on someone else's terms. I was living someone else's life. I just couldn't imagine coming out because I thought if I came out as a trans person, I would lose my friends, my family, my job, everything. And that sounds dramatic, but that is the reality, sadly, for a lot of trans people. Thankfully, it wasn't for me, but at this point in my life, it all kind of just came crashing down. I'd launched 3 businesses in a row. I was burnt out. I spent so much time traveling, and I became really ill and actually severed the cranial nerve in my face, and I lost the ability to speak. So I had to take a lot of time off and relearn how to speak again. Thankfully, I am much better today, and I have wonderful friends and family and partner, and I feel content, like I have an inner peace for the first time in my life. Well, what I wanted to share today is, the journey and the process for that. And there was 2 things that I wanted to share that really helped me. The first thing is understanding the difference between change and transition. So change is situational, so something happens, whereas transition is psychological. So for instance, you might get a new job. And to really embrace that, you have to leave the old job and you have to go through a transition. A lot of your identity is still tied up in that old job. You might move from a student to a professional. That's a huge transition in life, isn't it? Or you might change crafts, as I have many times. Graphic design to experience design, multidisciplinary design. And it's never a straight line. It really is. Lots of missteps and loops. And of course, in my case, moving from ending relationship with myself and beginning a new one, and really moving from Mike Rigby to Ren Rigby. And you can get kind of stuck here and tangled in a knot. Still going with the threads. And you can kind of get lost here. I got lost here arguably for my entire life. And, it's a scary place to be, this transition zone, because you don't know what you're doing. And for me, I got lost there. I'd lost my curiosity. I'd lost my interest in things. And that was really scary. So for me to kind of rediscover and relearn what I loved, I used this second framework I'd like to show, which is from David Hyatt, which is 3 simple questions that you can ask yourself. So very simple, and that's the strength of it. What's your skill? What do you love? What does the world need? So the skill, pretty easy. I'm a designer, design and communication. But what do you love? It's actually really hard because I've fallen out of love with everything. All of my passions just felt like work, you know? I didn't really feel anything. I think that's what depression is. It's not sadness, it's a lack of feeling. And so for me to rediscover and relearn what I loved, I actually went back to my childhood. So let's go back in time to young Michael Rigby. I do believe that as children we have an intuition around what we love. We don't need to be told or taught. We just go to it. We do it instinctively. So I think we can learn a lot by going back to our childhood. This is my best friend and my mum, Marlena Rigby. And I actually asked my mum, you know, what was I into when I was a kid? And this is the text message. It was like, Mum, what's the first thing of when you think of me as a child, hoping to learn something? She responded immediately, you had massive hands. Like, what? Also, that's the first thing. They were really big. Look at the size of those hands. Look at them. They're like adult-sized hands on a baby. Can someone take a picture of a massive hand next to the massive screen? Take a picture and just DM me at Ren Rigby. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You got it. Ren Rigby, thank you. Okay, so she said you're into art, you love nature, you really love plants and animals, but you also was really interested in ancient mythology, like particularly Egyptians, pharaohs, gods, and all those kinds of things. And I was actually rediscovering these and going back to these that really helped me in my healing journey. More on that later. So my career has actually been partly inspired by a near miss. So my mum was a brilliant writer, and she entered a national poetry competition when she was 11. She wrote a poem called Tales of the Sea, and she won. She won this competition. It was incredible. And she got to go to London to a glitzy awards ceremony, which was a big deal. This was in 1950. A friend of the family took her to the ceremony, but actually stopped to visit her boyfriend on the way there. And they got there so late, they missed the entire thing. And so she missed out, really, on that. And that always really stuck with me, you know? So I always wanted to kind of make the most of any opportunity I had, almost in her honor, really. And the worst part was she was actually bullied by her classmates who accused her of not writing it, you know? So it was just super sad. So this is me as a kid, pretty effeminate. I thought I was a girl. I was born a girl. I used to wear girls' clothes. I would kind of identify with girls in TV, films, books, etc. Until I was kind of shamed by adults in my life and told that that was not appropriate behavior for a little boy. And yeah, I don't hold any animosity about that. It was just the way it was back then. But I learned at this age that to be accepted, I would need to hide that part of myself. And I've been hiding it ever since. Until now. So I think the problem was that I couldn't see anybody like me at all in media. And so it took many years later, actually, when I moved to New York in 2014, I got off the plane, and the first magazine I saw on the newsstand was this, Time Cover. You know, and it was like the first portrayal, positive portrayal of a trans person I'd ever seen in modern media, in mainstream media. And I was like, wow, that's my life they're talking about there. A few years later, I saw this amazing lady, T.U. Glow. She's from our industry, speaking at the AIGA conference. And that changed my life. I was like, wow, a trans person, you can be on stage, you can have a successful career, and you can be openly trans, you know? And T's watching this, so I just want to say a huge thank you to T, because she really did change my life. The third thing is a project that was made at RGA at the time called Love Has No Labels. This was a really cool time to be at RGA because we had this fusion of design and technologists and really great storytelling people, ad writers and stuff come together to make really interesting work. And this was a campaign or a platform we created, 2 amazing creative minds called Chris North and Eric Yannon. And this was a brand, it's still doing great things today. So Love Has No Labels, Love Has No Race, Love Has No Gender. And I'll just share this pivotal piece of work and explain why in a second. Just a short video.
got a creak in my neck, in my step. Cramping in my muscles every time I try to flex. But I don't wanna get but if you throw me love, I'll throw you some more.
So that's an awesome piece of work by a creative duo called Chris and Mike. And it was really interesting to take a kind of established heterosexual behavior and kind of subvert it in a way. But the reason I wanted to share it was I just found it so inspiring because these two incredible people here were survivors from the Orlando Pulse shooting. And so they'd literally been shot at. They'd seen their friends murdered in front of them. And they were still showing up and standing up for their people. And I was like, if I can't come out with my privilege, what the hell am I doing? So I was like, okay, so I quit, and I came out on National Trans Day of Visibility, and I decided I was going to go and follow that thread back to my childhood, to the things that I love. So I went down this really fascinating rabbit hole: nature, art, mythology, ancient Egypt. I went to some of the world's best archaeological sites, and I got into plant medicine and shamanism, and I traveled extensively. I actually went from the concrete jungle to the actual jungle. I went to the Amazon, and I worked with these beautiful, incredible people, the Kanibo-Shipibo tribe, and they basically protected their plant medicine, ayahuasca, which I'm sure you've heard of, for thousands of years. I got the honor of participating in 4 ceremonies, and this medicine saved my life. So with ayahuasca, you have incredible visions. I basically left my body and went to another plane of consciousness completely. Who's actually worked with ayahuasca here, out of interest? That's pretty good. Tina, put her hand up. Okay. So I mean, it was beyond words. So anyway, so what happens with ayahuasca is you have what's called an ego death. And so it helps you bring to the surface some of the darkest parts of yourself and your deepest traumas. And it helps you let go of those things because they're not serving you. So in my case, I died 3 times. I was bitten to death by snakes. I had my ego pulled out of me like it was being ripped out of my bone marrow, and it was smashed to pieces. And then I was buried alive. If that sounds scary, it was way worse than it sounds. I thought I was dying. I really did think I was dying. And there's no escape. You can't escape. So if you're ever thinking about doing ayahuasca, please take it seriously and do your research. But for me, it did really change my life. And this was the death of a lot of things. I died 3 times because that was my pain, my shame, and my fear dying. And that allowed me to move forward. This was the death of Mike Rigby, which allowed me to be reborn as Ren. After this, I went home to spend some time with my mum. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to paint again. I hadn't painted in 30 years. What should I paint? Well, I'm going to paint a companion piece to my mum's poem, Tales of the Sea, Marlena Rigby, 1950. I'm going to paint Tales of the Sea, Mike Rigby, 2023. I'm going to put the painting and the poem together and get it framed. And then I organized a secret awards ceremony in my mum's back garden with all of her friends. Her favorite place. And she finally got the award and the ceremony she deserved. "73 years later, and there you go. It's never too late to write a happier end to a sad story." And that brings us back to present day, really. And I'd like to, I guess, end with an introduction. So my name is Ren Rigby. This has been my gender renaissance. I died 3 times. You just went on that journey with me. I was reborn. And my version of Ren also means renegade. So just being alive and showing up every day as myself is an act of rebellion against those who choose to legislate against my right to exist. And that's why I chose David Bowie as my inspiration and Rebel Rebel. I've got to have a logo. I'm a graphic designer. And of course, Rebel Rebel's a song all about gender fluidity. Okay, final thoughts. So if you ever get lost, it's useful to retrace your steps. I don't think we ever really lose the thread of who we truly are on the inside. Go back to your childhood. Remember what you loved when you knew instinctively who you were. Follow those passions. Exactly. Aim for success on your own terms and build a life around what you value most. Decide that and do it now, today. I had success, but it was success without happiness, and that's not success at all. The final point is, don't leave it too late to be yourself. We need you. We need you, the real you. And so, thank you for being part of this, of my journey. Love you all, and keep in touch and collaborations. Ren Rigby Online. Thank you.